Welcome in, along with Sam Monson. I'm Steve Palazzolo. Today discussing the 5 best contracts for edge defenders in the NFL. Sam, let's go through it. It's over at ProFootballFocus.com. We have the full breakdown, and of course we're using our trusty Premium Stats version 2.0. It's all a part of your PFF Elite package. It's the only way to break down players, especially defensive players, because nobody else can do it like we can, and really figure out just how valuable they are.
Yeah, we've got grades on all of these guys, and that grading comes from play-by-play analysis of every single player on every single play, stuff you can't get anywhere else. So we're going to go reverse order? Is that right, Steve?
Let's do it. From 5 back down to 1. So the number 5 most valuable edge defender contract is Calais Campbell of the Jacksonville Jaguars. An interesting case, Sam, because he was really an interior defensive lineman when he was in Arizona, rushing in the interior against guards for the most part. And he mixes it up a little bit in Jacksonville, but it was really a position change last year that led to the best season of his career.
And not just that, but he signed a free agent contract a season ago. Typically, those guys are not the best value players amongst the league in their position. Those are the guys that reset the market, that are typically overvalued compared with how their actual play is. But Calais Campbell, he was a sort of 3-4 defensive end in Arizona, but actually played more 3 technique than anything else when it comes to an alignment standpoint. Basically lined up like a 4-3 defensive tackle, moves to Jacksonville, becomes a legitimate edge defender, and look at these grades. They were all extremely good last season. Was our number 3 graded edge defender on the season, 91.1 overall grade. That's as good as anybody, and he did that in his first year, essentially playing as an edge rusher.
So that's the game by game right there, and here is the career. His last 2 years have been his best. So we're talking about a guy 10 years into his career, putting up those 2 blue elite grades the last 2 seasons.
And in completely different positions. He went from an interior player, 91.2, an edge defender, 91.1, basically the same guy playing completely different positions.
Look at this breakdown. 85 total pressures, 17 sacks, 18 QB hits, 50 hurries. The 85 is the total of those 3. So it was his best season rushing the passer from that new position, essentially. So Calais Campbell, what's he making, Sam? We got about 4 years, $60 million for him. So it's a lot of money, but he's worth it.
He is. Wins above replacement, our new metric that the analytics guys have been pulling out. He's been averaging at least a win a season over the past couple of years. He has been a difference maker, literally.
And that's a huge number for a defensive player, just to put some perspective on it. So Calais Campbell at number 5. Let's go to number 4. It is Whitney Mercilus of the Houston Texans, a guy who battled injury last season. So we see he only played 5 games. But if you go back to 2016, Whitney Mercilus opposite Jadeveon Clowney and with J.J. Watt when he's healthy, the trio of guys who are edge defenders by name, it's probably the best trio in the entire NFL.
It should be, and it's been this tantalizing prospect. We've never really seen all 3 of them together, firing on all cylinders at the same time. Whitney Mercilus really is this case study of a few edge rushers around that kind of time that struggled earlier on in their career and then really kicked it on. Those 84 grades, 81, became this first-round pick that they were drafted as, the guy he was supposed to become. But because it took him a while to get going, the Texans were able to sign him to a relatively cheap contract. 4 years, $26 million, 10.6 of which was guaranteed. He's earning less than $5 million in 2018.
Yeah, so he's a potential steal right there. 76 total pressures in 2016, and you see the breakdown. That includes the playoff run that they had a couple games in 2016. So, yeah, he continued to get better throughout his career, even before last year's injury-riddled season. Let's go to the number 3 player. Most valuable edge defender contract, Cameron Jordan, the guy I like to call the most underrated player in the entire NFL.
Whoa.
I don't know if anybody really knows how good he is. We're starting to help the public understand, and we'll get to the career grades in a second, but Jordan has been outstanding.
Yeah, and he was a force last season. It continued in the playoffs. He almost derailed the entire Vikings hype train right there. And he's another guy who was getting paid healthy money, but is just that good. Like Calais Campbell, 5 years, $55 million for Cameron Jordan, 33.5 guaranteed. That's big money, but the grading says he's well worth it, if not more.
Let me go back up. Sorry, fascinating player. 6'4", 287, 4.74 speed. When you see these guys at that size coming out of the draft, you immediately think interior type of player, going to rush on, against guards and against centers, and you move him around. But he has played true edge defender. He goes up against tackles every single week. And look at this, the pass rush grade last year of 89.4 is the best he's ever put up in his entire career. We go to those pressure numbers again, 88 is the highest. Of course, that includes the playoffs. But look at the 88, 79, 70. Those are incredible numbers, rushing the passer, and he's an outstanding run defender.
And again, it took him a little bit of a time to get going, to become the player that he is now. And he bounced a little bit around between being an edge defender, more of a 3-4 end earlier in his career when the New Orleans Saints were chopping and changing their defensive schemes. But now he is this true edge defender and is one of the best in the league.
Back-to-back seasons of 90-plus for Cameron Jordan. Let's go to the number 2 best edge defender contract. It's Jabal Sheard, another guy. It's like the same story, Sam. He had some ups and downs early in his career, but 2016 with the Patriots, he was excellent on their Super Bowl run. Last year with the Indianapolis Colts, a very quiet, productive season for Sheard.
Now here is one of the most underrated players in the entire NFL. I'm not sure.
More underrated than Jordan?
Yeah, absolutely, because at least Jordan, I think, is universally recognized as a very, very good player. I don't know there are too many people that would tell you that Jabal Sheard is a really, really good player, and yet the grading speaks for itself. The number of total pressures as well. 2 out of the past 3 seasons, he's been over 60 in terms of total pressures on the year. The one in the middle is 43. That's still a reasonable number. He has been able to bring the heat as a consistent edge rusher, and nobody knows who he is still.
Yeah, and another guy who, again, early in his career started out slow. Wasn't bad, but has peaked essentially those last 3 years. And I kept saying last year with the Indianapolis Colts, guys like him overachieving. If Andrew Luck was healthy and they won a few more games, he'd probably get a little bit more credit, maybe not be as underrated.
Yeah, I think so. But again, one of the most underrated players in the entire league. And our number 1 guy is a guy who's been underrated almost his entire career.
Yeah, we helped set the tone, I think, with him. Back in 2013, Michael Bennett, formerly of the Seattle Seahawks, became a free agent, and we had him as our number 1 free agent edge defender. He goes to Seattle from Tampa Bay and helped them win a Super Bowl, helped them almost win a second Super Bowl, and he's been one of the best rushers over the last few years. He is the guy, 6'4", 275, that does move around the defensive line.
The concern, though, is this number right here. 33 years of age.
32.7.
32.7. Almost 33 years of age. That could be an issue given his decline in grading, but they're going to have more help in Philadelphia.
So we have him as the best contract only because we're looking at last year potentially as the anomaly. I know he's getting old, but I think the key here is the snap count. Last year he had 931 snaps. He was an every down player. He's joining the Philadelphia Eagles, who roll 7 deep on their defensive line. So if he cuts this in half from 931, play about 500 snaps.
That's the key.
Then you'll be productive.
That's the key, because this stretch of seasons, 89, 82, 82 almost again, that's where he was at his best. He was a dominant edge rush. He was a guy that could kick inside. Last season he did dip, but he did play 900 plus snaps. He goes to Philadelphia, 7 deep. If that gets cut in half, suddenly you have a fresh Michael Bennett every time he's out on the field. And I think he's still got more than enough in the tank to be able to be a force as a situational guy there in Philadelphia, essentially replace what they lost in Vinny Curry and be part of a dominant defensive front.
Now they have multiple guys like Brandon Graham, like what they had in Vinny Curry, who can beat tackles. They can also beat guards, move on the interior. So he adds the guy that can move around the defensive line, win everywhere, no matter where you put him. So Michael Bennett, our most valuable edge defender contract. If you want to see all of the edge defenders, very simple. Premium Stats version 2. You go to the position page, sort by edge defenders, and this is our ranking last year. This is where everybody stacked up. There you see Cameron Jordan, our number 3 ranked edge defender. Calais Campbell came in at number 4, and you guys can break down and figure out who you guys think is the best just based off using everything we have in Premium Stats. It's all part of your PFF Elite package.